Thank you, Sir Henry, and it's a real pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. Excellently done with the timekeeping. And I would like to also pay tribute to the Honourable Member for North West Durham. I know this is an area that she campaigned on ever since she first got elected, and always does it with real passion and a real determination to see improvements right across the system. And I think that was echoed by all of the speakers, and I mean that genuinely. I might not have agreed with absolutely every point, you wouldn't expect me to, but it is clear there is a real desire to see continued improvement and emphasising just how important that improvement is to people who are going through this process. And to the Honourable Member for Lincoln, I was very touched by the story that she highlighted. I would like to meet the Honourable Member to discuss this a bit further. I think there's some lessons to be learned from that particular case, and I'm certainly sorry for the experience that she's gone through. Now, this area, Sir Henry, is a real priority for me. I have been the Minister for Disabled People before as a Parliamentary Under-Secretary. I've been an elected representative for 19 years, so I do recognise the comments that we see this firsthand through our casework where things haven't gone right. And I have spent my parliamentary career being proactive with working with MPs across the House and stakeholders, charities and experts in this area. So I do listen to what is said, and I do try to do my best to make improvements. And certainly I hope that is reflected with my record last time as the Minister for Disabled People, and I will continue in the same vein. Now, Sir Henry, the government is focused on this area. We rightly have increased funding for those with disabilities and long-term health conditions, and in this year we are expected to spend £55 billion, which is a £10 billion increase in real terms since we came to office. It's a record high. It's 2.5% of GDP, which is higher than the spend of any other G7 country, and it is 6% of the total government spending, and I think it is every penny is rightly supported by the wider public. But this debate is focused on the 10-year anniversary of the work capability assessment, and I note a few of the speakers did acknowledge that this was introduced by the last Labour government, and clearly it wasn't perfect. Clearly there was need for much needed improvement since that introduction. And we are all committed to play a part in improving the process and to take account of the developments in healthcare, modern workplaces and flexible work arrangements. And at the back of those much needed improvements were the 5 independent reviews, the first 3 carried out by Professor Harrington and the last 2 by Dr. Litchfield, of which over 100 recommendations were made, which we have accepted and delivered. But as the Secretary of State set out in her recent speech, that we need to do more, and that is a real priority. Now, I want to, Sir Henry, initially look at the frontline staff and the actual process. Many people highlighted concerns with that, and since 2015 it's been the Centre for Health and Disability Assessments who took over the delivery of the work capability assessment, and the focus has been on improving the operational process. They've increased the number of healthcare professionals by around 82%, and there are now 1,300 staff directly involved in supporting assessments. They've increased the number of assessment rooms, and they have significantly improved the training programme. And I know many speakers highlighted it, particularly to do with individual conditions. There is broad training on disability analysis and on specific conditions, including multiple and complex conditions. And it covers 3 distinct areas: the principles and professional standards, the assessment process, and the scrutiny and file work with an emphasis on quality. The training is done predominantly through modular and with competency testing at every stage. And then the healthcare professional must undergo the continuing medical education programme and is subject to regular case reviews and audits. And for complex cases, we expect the healthcare professional to refresh knowledge prior to the assessment. Now, one very important welcome addition that has been started to be rolled out is the introduction of customer champions. I absolutely recognise all those who highlighted just how anxious and nervous people can be going towards that assessment. I absolutely get that. So the introduction of the customer champion is so that they can assist those claimants before and after assessments to make sure they receive the best service. We've had good feedback on that, and the intention is that there will be one in every single one of the assessment centres. And also I recognise the comments about communication with the brown envelopes coming through, and there is a commitment from me to work further with stakeholders to improve the letters that come out. I've seen it as an individual MP, and I've sort of taken a deep breath at some of the poor quality of communications, and we do need to improve that. We're using... yes?
I wonder if the Minister might agree with me that subjecting people who've got either a chronic illness, such as MS, or a terminal illness, to these kind of work capability assessments is just unacceptable. Totally.
Well, I can't give a broad brush. I know what the Honourable Member's saying, and I am coming on to the use of evidence and how we can do more earlier and potentially then with paper-based assessment. I will come to it. I understand, but I can't just give a definitive answer because every claimant has their own unique challenges that have to be addressed. So, but I will come on to that. And also SMS text message reminders about appointments, and that's been welcomed. And a lot of work on the website, including mock assessment videos, so people can get an idea of the sorts of things that they will be going, all looking to try and remove some of the anxiety and the worry ahead of those. There is more to be done in that area, but we recognise that. And these improvements in the training, the extra healthcare professionals, has seen the medium clearance time halved from 25 weeks in March 2015 to 10 weeks in 2018. And customer satisfaction has exceeded the 92% target since that point. And that doesn't mean we're getting it right every time. And that's what I want to now turn on to, Sir Henry. And that's to focus on the MR and the appeals. And I, like all of you, are frustrated when it seems to be clear-cut cases that come to our constituency surgeries asking for our help. And there have been times when you think, how on earth can this have happened? And then ultimately they then could potentially have a very long appeal process to then get what should be the right decision. Now, in the majority of cases, successful appeals are because of additional oral and written evidence. Now, that has to be addressed. And we rightly are, first of all, going to tackle this in two stages. Firstly, with the MR process. We are going to, and we've started doing this with PIP, we are looking to contact the claimant who is disputing the decision and talking to them directly to get that additional oral and potentially written evidence at that stage to see whether we can then improve the changes of decisions at that point rather than waiting for that evidence to come at the end of the appeal process. Very quickly.
Does the Minister think that it is unacceptable that any government policy should cause its citizens to take their own lives or to die? And if he doesn't, shouldn't there be a moratorium on this policy until it is got right? Surely one death is one too many.
Okay. Well, we all recognise that suicide is a tragic and complex issue, which we take extremely seriously. And we take the death of any claimant seriously. And where we're made aware a person has died and it's suggested it might be associated with DWP directly, a review will be undertaken to identify if any lessons can be learnt and can be actioned. Now, let me just make some progress here on this, because this is a very, very important point about the MR process. Now, that it is early stages of this new way of looking at MRs, but there's been very positive results, and we will now roll this out to all of the PIP dispute sites, and we intend to do the same for the ESA sites as well. Now, the second stage is to do with the appeal process. So again, recognising that people will submit additional late written and oral evidence. Let me just get this point. One of the challenges, somebody who, and the Shadow Minister highlighted about 30 weeks wait in some cases for appeals. Now, they may have got that additional evidence week 6, but then the system's saying, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait another 24 weeks until we can actually take that into account. That is clearly not an ideal situation. So we are looking at how we can lapse those appeals where there is new evidence, to reconsider the decision with this additional evidence, to be able to then give them a different decision then. Now, if we don't think that that should change the decision, they have the right to carry on right through to the final appeal process. But if it is something that is clearly going to change that decision, we should be acting as quickly as possible. And in a second, over the last 5 years, only 4% of the work capability assessment ESA decisions have been revised at appeal in the last 5 years. But we recognise that it is in no one's interest that this is only picked up as after a lengthy appeal process. So we are absolutely committed to be proactive in this area, and this will be a real priority.
I thank the Minister for giving way. I just wanted to ask for clarification on one point that he made about appeals being successful because of new or additional information. How would the Minister respond then to the fact that people who go on to appeal do so on the basis that the information that they see about them is actually badly or very badly expressed and incorrect, and citizens' advice saying that 81% of the customers that they see have got inaccurate information recorded about them, which leads to a wrong decision?
Well, I'm coming on further about how we can do more to make sure that the right evidence is into the system at the earliest possible moment and in the right way. We do not want people who should be getting the support to have to unnecessarily go through that lengthy process. We're all in agreement on this, and hopefully honourable members can see this is an important improvement. It's still early stage, but I think this is really, and I've seen this in previous debates, this is the sort of thing that stakeholders want us to do, and rightly we are going to take that forward. Now, on to this point about evidence, and it's referring to the integrated service. And there is a bit of confusion what people thought this was going to be, that this ultimately would be some sort of panacea where you would go for one single assessment that would be for PIP and for the work capability assessment. The reality is very, very few people apply for both of those benefits at a similar point in time. However, for those very few people, it might make sense that they would do, if they wished, both of those assessments on the same day, not having to come in on a Monday and then come in again on a Wednesday, if that's what they wanted to do. But it is very, very small numbers. The thrust of this is to share the evidence if the claimant wishes to, because one of the points that many honourable members made is the challenge often of getting that evidence, whether that's from the GPs, physiotherapists, the hospitals, in a timely manner, in the way that is helpful for their assessment. Now, if they've managed to do that once, then, and they would like us to use that evidence again, and it's with their consent, then that is something that we would look to do as part of building the new digital system and making sure that the claimant has that consistent, better information on being able to share their evidence to reduce the burden of providing the same evidence multiple times. And this could potentially lead to fewer face-to-face assessments where we can gather that crucial, vital, clear-cut evidence earlier in the claim. Now, Sir Henry, just coming to the end of my comments, I do want to pay tribute to all the stakeholders, the medical experts, the charities, and all of the MPs across the House who regularly engage on this issue. We, over the coming months, will be doing a series of roundtables and regional events to gather further evidence with a real emphasis on those with real experience in this area on how we can further improve the system. We want to build trust, transparency and consistency, and we want to improve the claimant experience through a more personalised and tailored approach. And Sir Henry, as a returned new minister, I am committed to supporting disabled people and those with long-term health conditions to claim and receive the benefits they are entitled to, and to ensure people are treated fairly and with dignity. And I thank all of the members from across the House who have contributed today.